it's difficult to be fair to Joe Biden. I mean, maybe I'm in a bit of a echo chamber or something, but every video clip I see of him, he's just stumbling on his words. It's embarrassing. Can you just assess Joe Biden, try and be more fair than I just was then, maybe, or in your own
Yes.
words? How has his presidency gone so far? I know I keep asking this question in all our interviews, but I do think it's interesting for British viewers to understand the perspective of Americans.
Well, we have to remember that you start with the premise that Joe Biden was never a nice person. Never a nice person. He was always of dubious character. He got caught plagiarizing Neil Kinnock, almost word for word. He was a plagiarist. He lied about his resume. He lied about his standing in law school. He left the campaign not because he was losing, but because he was discredited. In 2008, when he returned and tried it again, he left because he said a number of extraordinary things. I mean, he said that Barack Obama was the first clean, articulate Black presidential candidate, and that was not true. Barbara Jordan was much more articulate than Obama. So he when he went in 2020, he had these corn pop, quasi-racist stories that he'd made up. And he would call a person fat or lying dog-faced pony soldier, or he'd tell an African-American young person interviewing him, hey, junkie, or you ain't Black, or he referred to one of his subordinates, an accomplished African-American, he said boy to him, boy. He said Negro, which is now not correct parlance. So he was never a nice guy. So he was never healthy according to his age. And so he was always of dubious character and people didn't like him. Okay. The third thing the problem is it had been known since his vice presidency that he was compromised, that a senator does not end up with a compound like he has, 3 mansions, or a son that has somewhere 50 billion, that the Chinese, the Ukrainians, the Russians, and all of these people had paid into the Biden family consortium. So he was bankrupt. So when it came around after Hillary decided not to do it again, the left was gaga, because now they would have no traditional swamp creature, and they had Cory Booker, and they had Kamala Harris, and they had Beto and Elizabeth Warren and Julio, all these people. And so guess what? We saw them for night after night for a year and a half, and they were stark raving mad. They talked about opening the border. They talked about mass amnesties. They talked about modern monetary theory, forgiving 1.6 trillion in student debt, you name it. It scared the crap out of people. So then Joe Biden was losing because of the reasons I call. And so Jim Clyburn and Sal, they said, you know what? This guy will be an important empty vessel. He stutters, he's only a one-term president, but he gives a presentable facade given his past, and we can have him carry this agenda. So he ran, and he didn't run. We had never seen a campaign like that. It was a 19th century log cabin campaign where a guy sat on his front porch and reporters came to him. He never left his garage, or he went to a parking lot where there were cars. It was a joke. He had no rallies. So Trump mistakenly thought that that was a sign that he was going to lose because nobody wanted to hear him. And he didn't realize that his minions were everywhere, all over the United States, getting out the vote, changing the voting laws, drop box, the whole stuff. So anyway, he was good old Joe Biden from Scranton. We all know Joe. He said that there was a jungle out there in the 70s of crime, and he said that abortion should be rare, and that's what they played up. And Joe said, I want to unite everybody, but he was never that person. And so when he got elected, sure enough, his cabinet came in. They were the most radical left-wing people. They put Joe out there. He had reached such a degree of non-compos mentis. Cognitively, he was so challenged that he couldn't read the teleprompter. 2 days ago, he said, repeat this line, the one that's in brackets on a teleprompter. He can't work a 5-day week. He can't go up and down stairs. He's a very old 79. And they now want to get rid of him, and they want to get rid of him by saying he's unpopular. but he's unpopular because he implemented and gave them their agenda. Had he just said this when he was united, I don't like Donald Trump, and then said privately, get that wall finished. Just and just say, we're going to open the border. Don't let that border be open. And then say, we're going to transition to wind and solar. Make sure we get up to 16 million barrels, get that Keystone and Anwar going. And he said, make sure we have federal regulations and tamp down on that crime. We can't let these DAs keep doing what they're doing. Had he done that and been as cognitively challenged as he is now, people would be writing the New York Times, yes, he forgets things, but he's a vigorous 79. He's got 60% popular. He would. So it was the agenda, and then his own character flaws and age inabilities were force multipliers of that. And that's what the Democrats don't understand, because they kept thinking we're going to get a young guy who's glib like Pete Buttigieg. But no, Pete Buttigieg is going to have none of the veneer, and he's going to bring that left-wing agenda in its full naked essence, and it would be a disaster for them. And everybody wants him to be. Everybody on the right wants a Pete Buttigieg to be the spokesman, because he's sanctimonious, he's self-righteous, he's glib, and he's really incompetent. He's never done anything.